brought up Daylight or whatever. So after DNA battle, right, 2013, you go on to KOTD and have your run over there, right? A couple times too, because you did come back to URL in 2015, Battle Prep, Battle Saga, Cortez on Born Legacy 2, had the 2-on-2 with Magic, then you went back to KOTD again. A lot of people say that URL is like the major stumping grounds, right? Like that's like, if it's not URL, it doesn't matter or whatever, which I never really co-signed that theory. So I wanted to ask you, man, because like when you went to KOTD, you battled the likes of Daylight, Real Deal, Disaster, Conceited, Ilmac, Sharon, Iron Solomon. What did you learn from being on a different platform and like battling in front of a different audience? Because what's acceptable and accessible for one crowd may not necessarily be the same thing for the other crowd. Do you feel like, which I kind of already know the answer to, but do you feel like battling on KOTD added like a little level of versatility for you? Do you feel like it made you a little bit more, well-rounded as a battler?
100%. King of the Dot, especially at that time, was King of the Dot had a more diverse mix.
It was like a melting pot of battle rap
styles.
Yeah.
Right. You had your gun bar people, especially because there were a lot of people from URL that would jump back and forth. Your DNAs, your Charlie Clips, your Cortez, your that would go back and forth, from King of the Dot, depending on the card. You had your like awkward, I don't want to say awkward white boy, but you had like your awkward,
your Rones, your Sharons,
like your Carter Deems, your cheddar cheese, your and then you had your
Disaster,
lyrical
Dumbfounded,
rappers. Your Ilmax, your Thesauruses, your
BK.
So you had just this melting pot of styles where it was like, all right, I'm going against Daylight, I got to get in this bag.
Right.
I'm going against Iron Solomon, okay, I got to get in this bag.
Pass.
I'm going against Head Ice, I got to go in this bag. I'm going against Ilmac, I got to get in this bag. Like you can't necessarily just have the one style and go against all these different styles and expect to win. Styles make fights, man. They say that in fighting, and I believe the same thing in battling. So when I battle Ilmac, I try to do more pen wise as far as multisyllabics, just to show kind of a more depth. When I battle Iron, I'm trying to do more in terms of not only like scheming and wittiness, but his angles are top notch. So I'm trying to find really clever ways to break him down that culminate in a really good moment or punchline.
Right.
When I'm battling Head Ice, I'm thinking, man, the title is on the line. This guy is super charismatic. He's not super lyrical, so being super lyrical that doesn't help me in this regard. You know what I'm saying?
Because it'll become a matter of preference, and if they prefer Head Ice, they prefer Head Ice.
Exactly. Yeah. So I need to find a way to make them like him less. You know what I mean? So I was able to use like, the passport situation. Him missing our first battle, and I was able to take some things he said on camera about the King of the Dot crowd and kind of bring it to the forefront and force him to like either explain himself or just look silly. So like King of the Dot really taught me like that every style you have to change your style depending on the style you're going against to be the most effective. Once I left King of the Dot after losing the chain to Real Deal and went back to URL, this is how crazy it is, right? King of the Dot, I'm like, Gumbar, I'm gonna do this to my style. Tweet. All right, he's angles, I'm gonna do this to my style. Tweak. Oh, and Ice presence, I'm gonna do this. Oh, Real Deal is this, I'm gonna do this. Then I got the URL and it's like Nitty, gum bars and punches. I know how to handle that. Twerk, gum bars and punches.
A little bit of performance, but yeah.
I know how to handle that.
Right. Geechee.
Okay, Geechee.
On the roof.
On the roof. Real gun bars and gang talk. Okay, I know how to handle that. You know what I'm saying? Like because the diversity in styles wasn't as broad as what I was dealing with in King of the Dot, it was easy for me to kind of find not that I had the same style for Nitty, Twerk, and Geechee,
right?
But I could rely on some of the same things that I used that were successful against Nitty, and successful against Twerk, and successful against Geechee. I could rely on some of those same qualities in most of my URL battles, and I still kind of do. You know what I'm saying?
I remember you referred to yourself as like Deathstroke in terms of like having a file for every particular type of person, every particular type of battler, every particular type of prototype.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of attributed to like some of your time at KOTD.
Absolutely, 100%. And like a lot of the moments that you see or that you've seen, especially in my latest URL run, a lot of those moments don't happen without King of the Dot. The K-Shine Wire freestyle, that doesn't happen without me being a King of the Dot and learning how effective a freestyle rebuttal is in the moment, because that's something that King of the Dot battlers do like that without a second thought. Like if they're battling and Organic drops his water, they got a bar about it right then and there.
Yeah.
If somebody's in the crowd and they pass out, there's a bar right then and there. They're going to hit you with it. They're not going to let you slide. Pat Stay, Sharon, they're not finna let you slide.
Right.
If something happens, you fall off the stage, something falls on the floor, the lights go out, anything happens, in 5 seconds, they got a bar about it that's tearing the roof off. So being in that environment, when I stand across from K-Shine and I'm getting into my round and he's getting wired up, and I notice that everybody in the room is looking at K-Shine and they're not looking at me as I'm rapping,
you need to get that attention back.
I know how to snatch that now.
Right.
I wouldn't have learned that if I would have stayed on URL for for the whole 10 or 11 years that I've been in battle rap. So a lot of the things that I learned at King of the Dot, especially when it came to making this last final run, my airplane scheme freestyle rebuttal against Nitty.
Yeah. You Crip, right? So JetBlue, because this will make your front tier insane, man.
I had a freestyle against Twerk, dissing Shotgun, he wasn't on camera, but he was sitting right across from us.
Right.
He was breaking up weed, and he was doing it on I think it was a $10 bill.
So put a bill up. I'll rip Hamilton. That was insane. That was crazy.
But people watching at home don't see that, right? Like in the room, you see Suge sitting right here.
Or when drugs is right there, and you said do something to him. Now your brain's on fries egg. Now your brain's on drugs. That was insane because of the setting. Yeah,
a lot of those moments, a lot of those things that you see, that comes from my time at URL. I mean, at King of the Dot. That comes from, my time learning different styles, seeing different styles, and bringing that back to URL has served me so well that it's still something that I think when people have to battle me, or when people consider battling me, they have to keep that in mind.
Right.
They have to in the back of their head be like, yo, I saw the wire shit that Chilla did to K-Shine. So I hope nothing
That's why
crazy happens.
Say, if you rebuttal that, I'm gonna beat you.
Because he knew,
right.
And that was really smart by him, because he knew if I got a chance to get to that first, that I potentially could have I could have done something to win the battle in that moment. So he was smart to address it the way that he did, and I almost still did it, because I had something on deck for it, but I was like, you know what? I like my third round enough. I don't think I need it.
Right. Nah, man. Yeah, man. You've listed like a barrage of moments since you came back to URL. And the question I had, because I know you talked a little bit about it on your channel. You didn't dive too deep into it, but I just want to like go a little bit further into it.
Yeah.
When you came back, man, they gave you some gunners. They gave you Nitty. Then they gave you Twerk in a small room in front of all his URL peers. Then they gave you Geechee on the roof in LA. and you know what I'm saying. Then you got Real Sick, who's like the newer gunner, and then after that you have B Dot, who was like at that time period like the guy when it came to the small rooms. Did you feel like you was getting set up? Keep it 100. Like, did you feel like URL was like, you know what, Chilla's been asking for some names and he's coming back to URL platform. Let's see if he can hang or whatever. Like, do you feel like you was getting set up in these battles?
100%, bro. 100%. I said that to Beasley when he offered me twerk. because normally how it happens,
right?
You know, in my previous experiences with URL up until this most recent run is, you know, I'll be off the platform for a year or two. They'll reach out to me to bring me back, and they usually will offer me names that don't excite me, and names that, you know, I feel like I'm above or I'm better than, or like, you know, it'll make me feel like this is a situation for their artist to make a name off me, and I'm just kind of like a stepping stone.
Right.
You know, which is how I felt about the prep and the saga battles at that time when I had come back. There was also a battle I took in between the prep and saga battles and the Nitty battles, which was Steams. And
but it was on ban, but they didn't release it till after the KOTD. And I realized that they didn't release it after because you had the title defense thing that you had going on, so they didn't release it until that was taken care of. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, you know, at that time it was like, it was always different with URL. So when they called me, you know, and they said, yo, we got Nitty for you. And I said, okay, you know, that's the name I want. And I said, what kind of card is it going to be? Oh, it's a volume. I had been trying to get on the volume for a minute. I wanted me and Steams to be on the volume. You know what I'm saying? And they were like, oh, you know, for whatever reason, they weren't into it. You know what I'm saying? And so when they said you and Nitty on a volume, and I'm like, okay, it's a small room. Y'all say he's the king of the volumes.
Right.
So I got a chance out the gate to just pull up and just snatch his crown.
Right.
Okay. So after that battle happened, really good battle, debatable either way. Some people were saying it's a top 5 battle of that year. Super, super competitive battle. It wasn't needed.
I personally think it's like a top 5 volume battle of the series.
It's great. It's so slept on though, but it's so like bar for bar. It's insane. And like even when I watch it, I still watch it. When I watch it, I can feel in the first round that people are like,
does Chilla has a chance? Chilla's rapping good, but like, does he have a chance? You have Nitty, Nitty not only, and then like you could tell Nitty like woke up for this battle. I don't know what it was, maybe because it was the bug in his ear. Because like I'm gonna keep it real, right? When people come from other platforms and come back to URL or whatever, like the URL gunners be feeling the way and they be wanting to like make sure that like it's a different feel, or whatever. So you can kind of tell that like he was amped up for this battle, whatever. So first round, like you see him and you see his entourage, right? And it's just like, they're like, nah, this ain't KOTD or whatever. You're gonna have to come to play. Then you fight back in your second round, or whatever, and show them that like, hey, I do a little bit more than just back-to-back punching. I can scheme, I can do this, I can angle, I can do jokes. The twerk joke that you had was genius. And I guess that's also attributed, like you said, to some of the time you spent at KOTD learning how to infuse certain things and make yourself well-rounded. So I most definitely got the gist of like watching that battle. It's like, yeah, like not only am I showing that like I'm still the best pen in the world, but I'm also a different Chilla from when I was last here. So
facts. And that was my goal, man. And like in the first round, it felt like they were hesitant to react. They were a little afraid. You know what I'm saying? Like they could see, they could feel that I was kind of going off, but I think there was a lot of loyalty in the room for Nitty. I think I still had that persona of like kind of being an outsider.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, Nitty goes in his first round. His first round is like 4 minutes. Goes crazy.
Went a whole nother minute. went a whole nother minute. And I think that's a testament to him knowing that like you were coming to play. So like
facts.
he didn't do that for nobody else but Chilla Jones that year. So
facts.
So
you know, and his first round was great, and then you know, after that it was like, okay, cool, like it's time to turn up. So you know, my second round,
insane.
I feel like it was the best round of the battle. My second round went crazy. His second round was really good.
The Colin Powell, the third K leave you under white sheets. If you rum, I'm vodka. That's five times the still. Man, I don't like. That's one of my favorite rounds from you because it was a fight back moment. Because at this particular time, you're down big in the first round. Maybe not big, but in terms of perception wise, you know how perception works in battle rap.
Yeah.
In that particular moment, you're down big in this battle, so you really need to fight back or whatever. And not only do you fight back, but you fight back in the second round, which at that time period was Ram Nitty's like, you know, that was his
best shit.
That's his bread and butter or whatever. So that was an amazing battle. And then you have him, and then you have Twerk, which is which is also another like uphill battle because not only, and I don't think people realize the importance of optics, right? Because you see when you're in that room, one, that battle happened a month after you battled Nitty. So it happened in January. Two, if I'm not mistaken, you and Twerk were one of the last battles of that weekend because it was a URL app weekend or whatever.
We were the very last battle.
Yeah. So you've seen everybody. Mike P had his moment. You know what I'm saying? Arsenal and Drugs happened. O Red and Chess happened. Like a bunch of crazy battles happened. And you know, you're going against somebody that has like maximum energy, right? So they're coming to see Twerk, especially in this time period of like it's the last battle. We're trying to be excited or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's on you to keep up that same energy. There's that, and it's also seeing that like once again. Everybody in that room, for the most part, are like the URL cohorts, you know what I'm saying? The URL family or whatever. And it's another situation where you're pretty much an outsider or whatever. So, 100%. And then again, you're down big. Twerk has one of his best rounds of the year against you first round.
First round. And it was the same thing, man. Like, you know, like I was saying, when I got the call for Twerk, you know, I told Beasley, I was like, yo, what are y'all? I said, y'all trying to kill me off,
right?
Like, cause y'all ain't never gave me names like this on a comeback.
Months apart, just 1 month apart.
Y'all trying to like, y'all put a hit out on me. Y'all trying to kill me off, right? And I almost didn't take the battle because I was like, I just battled Nitty. Is 4 weeks gonna be enough time for me to get in my bag the way I want to for Twerk, knowing what he's capable of? Like, I'm not thinking, oh, he's gonna choke, or he's not gonna be himself. Like usually when people stand across from me, they're at their best, so they're near it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So in my head, I'm like, can I be ready for the best Twerk in 4 weeks? And you know, at that time, I was like, I can't turn it down. If I have a classic with Nitty and a classic with Twerk, back-to-back months, like I'm back. Like people have to acknowledge like that I'm back. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. You know, very similar to the Nitty battle. You know, Twerk goes first this time.
Crazy.
Incredible first round.
Crazy.
Incredible first round. High energy. Just has a different feel about him.
And he gave you all three out of respect. And that's one thing that you have to highlight, because 2020 was a year where Twerk had a little bit of turbulence, right? So like he had battles where he did good, battles where, you know, preparation was an issue. But for you, he came with all three. Nice. So I think that's a testament to how serious he took the battle for sure.
I agree. You know, his first was crazy. My first was actually really good too, but I'll be honest, there was like,
you rode uphill. You knew like the first was going to take off, so you most definitely tried to ride uphill for sure. Yeah,
I rode uphill for that one. Second round was good, but it was a little bit short. I knew that my second was better than my first, so I knew I could take that round. So that was the Rain on Drugs round. I had a couple other fire joints in that round,
and then the third is the toss up. because because he came with a crazy third, and then you came with a crazy third. His third, he had the message. Bro, I've never heard somebody break down Massachusetts like that. Like that was insane. And then you had the pager. Oh my god, the pager bar was a way to end the battle. Like that was insane. That was like that's another and I might make a video where like battles on the app that deserve to be on YouTube, and Twerk versus Chilla and Twerk versus Nitty. Nitty versus Chilla might be two of the battles that may need to go on YouTube just because of the
those would get a mill, bro.
Yeah.
Those would get a mill. You know what I'm saying? Whether it took a year and a half, those would get a mill because those were highly competitive battles. And especially on my return from King of the Dot, if they would have just dropped them on YouTube, they would have got a mill, man. I got probably 3 or 4 battles on the app that either would have got a mill or would have at least, I think, would have helped to change, you know, any narratives or any perspectives about me. If you put me and K-Shine on YouTube,
even you and Real Sick, I feel like you and Real
Sick on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you put me and Geechee on YouTube, like, you know, a lot of these battles, if they get put out to the public, to the masses, to watch, to see, to understand, like, there's still so many people that talk about me in a way that make me feel like, oh, you must not have seen anything from the URL app.
Right.
They still think
that you're the same Chilla from pre-2015 when you changed your style 2015. Like you're not a back-to-back schemer no more. You're not an elongated schemer no more. Like you do so much more now. Like you're one of the most versatile people. Maybe not performance heavy, but in terms of how you utilize your pen, you're one of the more versatile people when it comes to that. When it comes to content.
Absolutely. So when I hear people that are still, you know, that sound like they are still of a mindset that's outdated or old, it just makes me wish, like, man, if all of my recent battles, right, if me and Nitty, me and Twerk, me and Geechee, me and Sick, me and B Dot, me and K-Shine, if all of these battles hit YouTube, the public perception of me would be so different.
Yes.
Compared to, you know, not that the public perception of me right now is bad, because the people that have the app and have seen it, you know, definitely have come around and have given me respect. You know, obviously me winning Champion of the Year when I did is kind of a testament to that. But if you know, even when you talk about the Champion of the Year, there's so much about that run that I think gets overlooked in so many different ways.
Like one thing that you mentioned that I also want to highlight is that you know, when you won Champion of the Year, you wasn't on like a major event. Like you wasn't on a Summer Madness, you wasn't on a Gnome. Like you battled Rookies versus Vets in a small room. You battled Twerk on an app only event. You battled Jerry West on, like, I want to say off weekend for Ultimate Madness 1. You battled B Dot at the end of the year on volume 6.
That was a volume, but that was only because there were Champion of the Year implications, right? Like people
and then Geechee on the roof, right? So
and then Geechee on the roof, which was another app thing. So yeah, I didn't have a Kings versus Queens battle. I didn't have a Summer Madness. I didn't have Genesis. Remember, Genesis was that year. That was the Caffeine. You know, that was URL and Caffeine's debut. That was, you know, Twerky Geechee. That was Jerry West and Nitty.
Arsenal T-Top.
I think that was Arsenal T-Top. Maybe John and Chess. O Red JC. You know, all of these battles. You know, I didn't see Caffeine on a major card until it was time to decide, you know, who's going to be Champion of the Year, Chilla or B Dot. You know what I'm saying?
And B Dot is the heavy favorite at that point in time.
Super heavy favorite, and it, you know, and I get it because he was on the Halloween card, which was on Caffeine
and Rock,
which was Mook and Rock, and you know he did super well against Holmesy.
Who won you?
He was on Summer Madness against T-Top and had another crazy performance. You know what I'm saying?
And then on the same time, you had the Roof. He had one of the best battles, in my opinion, one of the best battles of all time with Saga. So
it's so it's like, it's different. It's always been different being Chilla because, I'm grateful that they've started giving me the matchups that I like and the matchups that I want, because that was a big issue for me with URL in the past. But even to this day, man, I still don't necessarily get all the cards that I want, right? I still don't necessarily get the Summer Madnesses. I did get Gnome versus Tay-Rock, which was dope. But in all my years and all my battles on URL, I have 2 Gnomes.
Right.
I have 3 volumes. I don't have any Kings versus Queens. I have
no Summer Madnesses, and that's a travesty.
No Summer Madnesses.
That's a travesty.
And it's weird to me because it's like, last year, as reigning champion of the year, I feel like I should have automatically gotten Gnome and Summer Madness.
Right.
I should have automatically gotten those events. I was literally the #1 ranked battler on Earth.
Yeah.
I have a $3,000 belt that says that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, that's how it's always been with me. And it's just been, even in the pandemic era, it was weird because it was like everything had to be in a small room. If that wasn't the perfect time to incorporate Chilla, then when was gonna be, you know what I'm saying? Y'all did Gnome with no crowd. There was no crowd. It was an empty room for niggas to just rap.
With URL staff and a couple of battlers in the background.
And you didn't think, man, this is a good opportunity for us to take Chilla, who just battled Nitty and Twerk, and put him in this environment.
And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the Jerry West battle before that too? And you had an amazing performance against Jerry West, I think, before Gnome. So I want to say, because I want to say that was during the one of the UM weekends, and the UM finalists went on to go on to Gnome. So I think that the Jerry West battle might have been
Jerry West was July.
Okay, so that might have been right after.
It was right after.
Okay. Right.
I know that because after my Jerry West battle, I was expecting to get a Summer Madness call.
Gotcha. But you ended up getting a real sick call.
I got a real sick call for the day after Summer Madness. And because I had kind of already had it in my head after, Twerk, Geechee, and Jerry West, that like, all right, I want to keep momentum high. I want to stay in the conversation for Champion of the Year. I took it. You know what I'm saying? I said, okay, I'll take real sick, even though it's only 11 days to get ready. Even though it's super, super short notice, I'll take the battle.
And he's a hungry, up and coming person.
up and comer.
And Smack love his up and coming talent. So
for sure,
yeah.
But even that was one of the better battles of that weekend. You know what I'm saying?
It's one of the best. That's one of the best. That is the best rookies versus vets back and forth of all time. You can't name You can't name a better rookies versus vets matchup than that. Like,
no,
you can't. Like, the back and forth between you two was insane. Like, your first round, his third round, like, it was an insane battle.
I agree.
So I had a question really quick. You talked a little bit about motivation, right? The names that you got. You feeling as if when you first came back, you were getting the names that you got. But I've seen on one of your streams that the reason why like some of your performances have been under par for your standards, right? The EK performance, the Sirius Jones performance, right? Is while you do respect those people, those opponents that you're going against, they weren't exactly the people that you wanted to go against. You were very adamant about like wanting to battle names that you want. And I just wanted to know, man, like, who is on Chilla's hit list? I know like you and Mike P had a back and forth or whatever. I know you talked about chess a couple of times, both in a likely and unlikely way.
Well, that's because chess is ducking. Chess.
Oh, here we go. Talk about it.
Chess. I get it because
you feel like high risk, low reward.
I'm one of the scariest people that you can see slide across that desk, right? Because especially in a small room setting, like everybody who thinks they're a pen hates to battle me.
What are the quotes for? What does that mean?
Because
let's dig into this, right? Because I as a person that's a pen, right? You're very, very particular about who you consider pins and who you consider like not pins or whatever.
Yeah.
So when people say that Chess is a top pin, what do you say to that?
He's not.
And why is that?
Because a lot of the things he writes are not good to me. They just don't weigh up with the greats. And I
like
can give
such
it,
as
I
such
can give
as
you
like the
examples
danger
for this.
zones.
For me, the greats are like are Lux, are Conceited, are JC, Nitty, Be Magic, this most evolved, newest form of Danny Myers.
Danger Zone, physics, your boy, and quantum physics too.
Danger Zone. There are even people like Street Hymns and like
underrated Chaos. EK.
You know, there's even people in that regard where it's like they may not be on URL, they may not get the most shine, but you can never question their penmanship. Brix Belvy is another one who to me is incredible. But like Chess, I want to be very clear when I say I'm not saying he doesn't have a pen. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But I've heard many people. I even had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. I think it might have been on the show actually.
Yeah.
Or on Twitter, where we were comparing, I think, Rum Nitty to Chess. And you know, somebody in my comments was like, Chess has a better pen than Nitty. And I was like, I don't know how you can come to that conclusion if you understand penmanship. When you say something like, Here we go. I'll put chaos in the air like a plane exploding. To me, that's not a creative, like, to me, that's not creative.
And I'm guessing you didn't like the supercalifragilistic.
Awful.
You didn't like that?
Awful.
Every person got there. Every person got there, you know.
let me tell you the most awful part about this, and I hope I'm not exposing an angle that I would use against him, because I probably would use this against him. He in the battle, he says that expialidocious means
amazing, incredible, or something like that. I
think. Like, yeah, it means like amazing, very, very good. And so obviously, like, the hilarious person in me is like, let me throw this in Google. So look, I throw it in Google, right?
Right.
And sure enough, expialidocious comes up, and it says, you know, very good, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And mind you, it's not a dictionary definition that comes up.
Right.
Like, it's not from like Webster's or from
Oxford or
anything like that. It's literally the definition of amazing and very good is for the entire word. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which isn't actually a word, but it's defining the context in which it was used in the movie.
Right.
the fact that he and his fans typed that into Google, like I can see this process, right? Where Chess is like supercalifragilistic expialidocious.
And I think he said it. I don't care if
Surf. Yeah. Is expialidocious a word? Let me type this in Google. So he types it in Google.
I will say it's in battle rap, you got to take risks or whatever. So I honestly commend the risk. I know as a writer, I'm a consumer at the end of the day. So as a writer, I can understand how frustrating that could be. I appreciate the risk he took in that, and like where your mind has to go to do something like that. But I can most definitely understand the frustration as a writer for sure, because it's just like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not frustrating per se. The frustrating part is not the bar. It's that people continue to try and sell the narrative that he is a top writer. Mm-hmm. Top writers don't do that. Mm-hmm. And top writers are smart enough to be able to use Google and differentiate, like, when a word is a word and when a word is not actually a word. You're literally standing on stage putting your rep behind expialidocious being a word with a legitimate meaning. Mm-hmm. And you're saying it as if you're smarter than everybody else because everybody else is saying that's a reach. And you're like, nah, it's not a reach. It's a word and it means amazing or very good. And it's not. So it's like, you know, in my head, I'm like, yo, like,
so So let's really back in real quick. So Chess, you feel like he's ducking you for the most part.
He's for sure ducking me. Because when I look at some of the names that he has called out recently, which are like Lou Castro, which are like was it Kid Slade?
I don't know if he called out Kid Slade.
I don't know. There's a couple of names he called out.
I know him and Lou Castro had an exchange for sure.
Yeah, I know Lou Castro is definitely one. There's a couple other people he called out also. But I also know, you know, he's over the past few. He had Kid Chaos battle. I know he had a couple other people, and I'm like, there's one interview that he speaks on me where I think
he actually he also had a little sub diss in his diss track of Set the Tone Part 2. I don't say if you caught it, he most definitely had a diss track towards you. So obviously you're most definitely on his radar or whatever. Right. But you know,
yeah, I mean, but I get it. Like I said, I'm a very dangerous. Like I, you know, and this is no offense to Lou Castro. I would much rather battle Lou Castro than Chilla Jones right now, because, especially depending on the setting, I think Chilla Jones is more dangerous. I think I'm more dangerous than Lou, and I think right now Lou has been so active, and his name is ringing so many bells. It's easier to get away with like a Lou Castro matchup right now, than you know, a Chilla Jones matchup, because you know what you got to do when you lock in with Chilla. Like your penmanship has to be on 10, your performance has to be on 10. You can't choke, you can't stumble. You know you're not going to get that with me. You know you have to be on point in all ways, and Chess is sometimes not on point in all ways. You know what I'm saying? But with Lou, you know, Lou doesn't rely on penmanship. He relies on charisma. He relies on performance, entertainment factor. And so you can battle Lou with an average pen that I believe Chess has. And as long as you have a little performance, as long as you have a little, you know, entertainment factor, it'll be a decent battle. So I I get why you would want to take Luke Castro over Chilla Jones, especially right now. But he's ducking. You know what I'm saying? That's
moral of the
just what it
story.
is. Moral of the story is he's ducking. Mike P is definitely on the list.
Yeah, because I don't. So let me get this correct. This stemmed from when you said on Twitter, "Does him and Anderson Burris make sense now?" Is that really where it stems from? Because that's where the back and forth came from. Because I know that I want to say last year. Not that it's battle rap, right? So you guys don't have no serious quarrels or problems, but last year you guys did a reverse together. You know what I'm saying? Everything was pretty cordial, whatever. You know, you guys had your reverse on the URL channel, right? Cool. The Mike P and Geechee battle happens, right? Then you ask a question of like, well, when was the last time Mike P has clearly won a battle? And then right after that, I think you asked, does him and Anderson Burris make sense now? And I don't really think he took a liking to that. And I think that's really what it stemmed from. And so is the need to battle Mike P, is that from like the background, solely from the background, or is there also like you've been wanting to battle Mike P? Because I don't know if I ever heard you say that you wanted to battle Mike P back in the day.
Mike P's been on my list for a while. And definitely nothing personal. Definitely no, there's no negative history or anything like that between us. If you actually go back to some of my previous battles, like in my Jerry West battle, if I'm not mistaken, I take a shot at Mike.
Yeah, you probably did.
And I'm pretty sure there's another battle I did, could have even been Real Sick, where I also took a shot at Mike. I
have to go back. Yeah.
And so, Mike's been on my list for a long time, but Mike is somebody else for a long time who was ducked. Who URL has brought him my name, and he has been like, you know what, I'm gonna chill. I don't want that battle. And a lot of this was also on my comeback, because it was like maybe he felt like I was just in a different place. Maybe he, I don't know. I get that I'm a high risk, low reward guy. I'm a scary guy to see. You know what I'm saying? As far as an offer, it's hard to write for me. I don't give people a lot to do. It's not easy to flip my name. I'm a solid human being. You don't have a lot of scandals or a lot of negative battle rap, experiences to draw from. So I get it. But yeah, Mike's been on my radar for a minute. I think now, because of the recent Twitter interaction that you brought up in regards to the Anderson Burris question, and in regards to the me mentioning that he lost clearly to me, to Geechee. Before that, he lost clearly to T-Top. Before that, I thought he lost to Real Sick, even though I think it's debatable. I edged Real Sick. Before that, I had Luke Castro edging him at Gnome. Before that,
because when his comeback was Real Sick, and Luke Castro was after Real Sick, but before Real Sick, he that was his comeback. So he had Bill Collector in the second round of UM too,
which was a judge loss. That was before Sick, right?
Yes.
And that was before T-Top. Yeah. And that was before Geechee. Yeah. So, me asking that was my way of asking the people, is Mike on a 4-game losing streak? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Which was something I really wanted people to ask themselves, and something I really wanted people to.
And you kind of wanted to stir the pot a little bit. You kind of wanted to stir the pot a little bit.
Honestly, it wasn't that I wanted to stir the pot. It was that I wanted to play devil's advocate a bit, in terms of, the people saying that Anderson didn't necessarily deserve him. I don't know how I even feel about, Mike versus Anderson as a matchup. I just don't necessarily buy into all the like the deserving, right? Like who determines who deserves what? Like we don't know how hard people work behind the scenes. We don't know like what things are transpiring. I know that there are big matchups that fall through all the time on the URL side of things. I know that A Ward and Twerk was once a thing. I know that A Ward and Real Sick was once a thing. But then when people talk about A Ward doesn't necessarily deserve certain things on the URL platform, I laugh because it's like, y'all would have been really mad if A Ward and Twerk would have actually happened. You know what I'm saying? Because that was locked in at a point. So, when it comes to Mike and Anderson, I really was just trying to provide a scope of information that would lead to people giving their opinions based on all of the facts, right? Because up until then, we saw Anderson and Swave, and it wasn't a great battle. It wasn't a great Anderson. I don't know that Anderson won a lot of people over with that performance in general.
He had a good second round. I like the second round. He was able to have some quotables. He had a pretty interesting angle with Swave Seva and the incest thing or whatever. But he showed that he most definitely has the skill set. Is going to take like a great deal of fine tuning though.
Yeah. And like you said, I think he still showed some flashes, right? Like showed some flashes of some good material, some good effective delivery, and obviously he's got some things to work on. But I think Anderson is good for URL in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like that diversity that I think is lacking. As long as he continues to improve and get better, I think having the Andersons, the Sharons, I think overall it adds to the diversity of URL. So I'm cool with that. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask, what draws you to the Mike P battle? Like in terms of like, is it you respect his rapping ability? Do you respect like that? That's pretty much it. That's what draws you to the battle. His rapping ability.
I respect his rapping ability. When Mike is on, I think he's on. Right. Like when he's really in his bag, in and out of the patterns, hitting with the punches. I think he's one of the most entertaining in that regard. When he's off, which is the other part of it, right? Which is
or do you feel like maybe it's not necessarily, because my thing with Mike P is I don't necessarily feel like he's ever really had bad material, but I do feel as if like there are times where people have their career highs against him. Like I feel like the T-Top that went against Mike P, that was the best T-Top we've seen in a long time. The Bill Collector that went against Mike P, that was arguably the best Bill Collector of that year. Yep. The Real Sick that he went against, that was a really good Real Sick. Yep. So I don't know. I mean, you can kind of make the thing of like, sometimes like when he's not like, let's say he's not Super Saiyan 2. Let's say he's like a regular Super Saiyan, right? Somebody goes Super Saiyan 4 and like, it just makes it look worse than what it is. Because I've seen a lot of people have their career highs against Mike P. Do you think that plays a role in that too or whatever? Because I feel like even look, the Suge battle, right? He battled Suge on the first volume or whatever. I think that's a close battle. But because Suge has such a great performance for like in terms of like of that year or whatever, it makes it look as if like Mike P is getting like, handled in the battle. Do you feel like that plays a role?
I think that's definitely part of it. I'm not exactly sure why.
People just love to be honest, going crazy against Mike P, huh?
Yeah, but the same thing happens to me, so I get it. Like, when people stand across from certain people, I think it's either one of two things. A, I might get killed and I have to make sure I don't. Or B, I can't lose to him. You know what I'm saying? And it's two different types of, I'm not saying it's one or the other with Mike. Right. But I'm just saying in general that those are usually the two reasons that you'll get somebody's best showing, because I'm sure for Suge or even for Geechee, it's like I can't lose to this white boy. Like I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta level up in a way where it's like I can't even let this be close. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Even though low key, I do feel like Mike edged Suge low key. Mm-hmm. But obviously with Geechee, with T Top, that's not necessarily the case. Mm-hmm. You can make the argument for Mike and Sick, and then obviously he lost a judged decision against Bill. But yeah, I think on Mike's side, I think that's what may have triggered him to finally feel like this was a battle that that he's interested in. Which is great. Hopefully we'll lock in soon. Hopefully we'll get it done. But Mike is definitely on my hit list for this year. Chess is definitely on my hit list for this year.
Yeah.
If O Red makes his way back to URL.
Yes. No. Let's stay right here, because as a battle rap enthusiast, as a small room enthusiast, and as a volume enthusiast, why hasn't this battle happened? You and O Red is if anybody has paid a close attention to battle rap in the past, let's just say 6-7 years, right? You and O Red have had back and forths before. I vividly remember you being on stage when he's battling Daylight and he's going crazy against Daylight. You and Quest are on stage watching that battle. Mm-hmm. So there's obvious history there. And then you talked about how it's been a chasing game where when he was champion of the year and you tried to battle him, he didn't want to do it. And then when you became champion of the year, he wanted to battle you, and you were like, no, you need to get your prep on or whatever.
Yeah.
So what's the thing with O Red? Because this has been a battle that should have happened a long time ago. This is a perennial volume battle, champion versus champion. Two people who are very underrated in some regards or whatever, and two people who are bar heavy. And two people who have been in the game, both been in the game for a very long time and haven't had that collision course yet. What has happened in between, this time period?
It's been a lot. Like you said, we obviously have had our back and forths. We've had interviews about each other. This goes back as far as Total Slaughter, where I'm outside of Total Slaughter with Beasley, arguing with O Red. And this is probably like 2013, 2014, whenever Total Slaughter was. And I'm literally walking out of the Hammerstein ballroom, and I think it's Hip Hop Is Real. And
or it could be Rap Red. I don't remember exactly.
But me and Red are going back and forth, and Beasley's like, yo, I'm gonna set this up.
Right.
It's like 9 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So that's how long the back and forth between me and Red has really happened. The thing about me and Red has been that we both have bounced back and forth between rival platforms, right? So I was on URL. I went to King of the Dot. I came back to URL. I went back to King of the Dot. Then I came back to URL, and now I'm here at URL. O Red was on URL. He went to RBE. When he came back to URL, now he's back at RBE. So now, it seems like every time I'm back on URL, he's gone, and every time I'm back on King of the Dot, he's back on URL.
But you don't feel like you don't feel like he's avoiding you. You just feel like it's just been just kind of the.
I don't feel like he's avoiding me at this point. At this point, I know it's a battle he wants.
It's a battle we need.
It's a battle I want. I think it's a potential battle of the year if it happens on a volume with the right prep time. I think at this point it's just a matter of, I would like to see O Red come back to URL and do one battle to get the people excited again.
Or maybe even a Midnight Madness appearance. You know what I'm saying?
Something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That would make people say, oh, okay, it's time for him and Chilla to finally happen. And then we can get it done. I think if it gets announced now, if it announced tomorrow that Chilla and O Red were battling, I don't think the excitement would be as high as it would have been last year.
I don't know, man.
I
feel like people will still be excited for that battle, but they'll be more excited if it's a volume battle because that's the perennial volume battle. Let's get to that real quick. We'll get back to the hit list 1 second.
Yeah,
King of the volumes. In my opinion, there are 5 people that you can consider king of the volumes. Right? You got yourself. Right? You got Nitty. You got O Red. You even got Twerk because of the moments he has. And you have a case for DNA because DNA is arguably undefeated on the volumes. How would you rank each of these people when it comes to like the king of the volumes, like from top to bottom? Because